Welcome back to the craft table. As you can see, this thing is pretty heavily used, but it shows character. Anyway, if you watched my Paper Mario video a few weeks ago, you probably saw that I have this massive bin of N64 games. Out of all the systems I have games for, my biggest collection by far is the N64. This is the console that got me into gaming in the first place. I got mine in 1999 when I was just 5 years old. It was an amazing thing that kind of set me on this path of gaming, and because of that, I obviously have amassed this pretty big collection of games for it, and by request, Father Sunglasses, shout out to you, you requested I do a showcase of all the games I have for the N64. Some will be done in videos coming up, some I just don't feel the need to make videos on, but there's no particular order to this. This is kind of just grabbing in the bin as we go, and we will see how this turns out. But yeah, let me just grab into the bin right here. Alright. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1. This game got me into skateboarding. Not that I ever actually rode a skateboard. I just imagined I did when I was a kid. I love these games. I know a lot of people really don't like the N64 ones because of the analog stick and the kind of mediocre sound quality of all the music, but you know, how can you beat these games? We got 1, we got 2, and we got 3. Now what's amazing about these games is these are some of the few games that actually have like colorful cartridges. Most N64 games I have, besides like Donkey Kong 64 and Spiderman, are all just gray. I love that this one's blue. It always has stuck out to me. Really love that. Helps me grab it out of the pile quick if I ever want to play it. Pro Skater 2, also fantastic. And 3, of course. 3 is actually the final game released on the N64. When people make jokes about, like, Just Dance being the only game on the Wii, I think about Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 being the final game on the N64. So I love these games. These are fantastic. I'm actually going to do a video on the Pro Skater games on the N64, just because I feel like they don't get enough credit. But yeah, expect that soon. Tom and Jerry Fists of Fury is a very funny game. I actually played this not too long ago with my girlfriend. She was like, what even is this? And what Tom and Jerry Fist of Fury is a fighting game in like a 3D arena. So basically you can beat each other up, but also pick up weapons and projectiles and things like that. There's also environmental weapons you can use. Like you can drop stuff on people's heads if you get them too close to doors and things like that. You can burn people on a stove. Like, it's kind of violent for a Tom and Jerry game. Like, even as beat 'em up as the show can be sometimes, like, this game gets pretty hardcore. I recommend it. It's pretty good. I grew up on this game quite a bit. My friend had it, and I had to have it afterward. Very funny. So speaking of Spider-Man, I unfortunately have this messed up label, but Spider-Man 64, and it's on the Dreamcast and PS1. This game is fantastic. I love Spider-Man. It's one of the reasons I love Spider-Man as a kid. Before I even played the comics, I got the Spider-Man game, and this game is just so fun because the combat, you use the webs so satisfyingly, the different suits you get do different things and give you different powers. It's really cool. If you're a fan of Spider-Man or just superhero games in general, you gotta play Spider-Man. It's really good. Pokemon Stadium. I got this secondhand. I think Game Trader, rest in peace, the game store that I used to go to, scratched the name out, which makes it worse, I think, because now it's just this inky blob. But what's there to say about Pokemon Stadium that hasn't been said enough already? Nothing, so we're just going to keep moving on. Donkey Kong 64 is the game that kind of started it all. When I woke up on Christmas morning and got my N64, I got the Jungle Green N64 that came with Donkey Kong 64 and the expansion pack. I love this game. I think a lot of people really hate this game for a bunch of very preferential reasons. I don't think it's a bad game at all. I think it's just not what people look for in a collect-a-thon, because there is a lot of collecting to do. There's a lot of very different things to do in this game that goes a little bit too far, admittedly, but I really like the fact that there's so much to do. There's so many different ways you can play the different levels with the different Kongs. I highly recommend giving this a chance, and don't let the reputation precede it. Definitely try this if you can. If you told me this game was going to be remastered in 2020, I probably wouldn't believe you. It's Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. Why? Of all the things that came of the Star Wars prequels, this is the only good thing. I really like this game. It's a really good racing game. I know pod racing is kind of a meme these days, but this game is actually really, really good. Really, really good. If you have 15 bucks on the Switch, give it a try. Like, this game is incredibly deep. You get to play as all the different racers from the movie that really weren't shown at all, so they might as well not even be real characters, and a lot of them probably aren't. But it's got a great single-player mode, great multiplayer mode. Definitely give it a chance. South Park Rally is kind of a funny story. I didn't understand game ratings as a kid, so this is rated M for mature. I got this game when I was 6, and my grandma also didn't understand the game ratings either, which is funny, because you look at South Park and this, like, it doesn't look offensive in any way, but man, this game really set my parents off. They took this game from me and hid it for years. I didn't get it back until probably, like, I was in high school, honestly. Like, it was just hidden somewhere. I have no idea where it was, but they got this back. The game itself, kind of mediocre, and even though it's rated M, it's very censored, like, very censored. Like, they just beep out everything. So, like, it's implied crassness, I guess is the word, but, like, this game is so tame by today's standards that it's basically probably only a T rating at most these days. Yoshi Story was a game I got pretty early on in my N64 life cycle. I like this game. I always feel like when I finish it that there should have been more to it. It's just kind of easy until the final level where it's just pretty hard and you're gonna lose a ton of Yoshis. But yeah, it's alright. Not my favorite Yoshi game. If you watched my channel recently, you probably saw Cruisin USA. I'm a big fan of this game. I'm an apologist for this game. I think by today's standards, it's a pretty fine enough game that gets a lot of bad credit because of a lot of things outside of the developer's control, and maybe some of it was in control, some of it wasn't. The game was censored because Nintendo didn't like some of the inside jokes of the time. I think they would have been hilarious if they would have added a bunch of the the political references from the day. Look that up if you want to see that. But this is a fine enough game. If you find it for a good price, it's definitely worth picking up, but its reputation is another one of those things that just doesn't give it enough credit. I think it's fine. It is like a 7 out of 10 game. It is not the 40 out of 100 that it's rated on, like, Metacritic and everything. So give it a try. Definitely better games in the series than Cruisin USA, but I grew up on this. I think it's fine. It still plays well to this day if you like Cruisin' Exotica, Cruisin' World. Like, it's very much in the same vein as that, so give it a try. Paperboy is a game I got a kick out of when I was a kid. I thought it was so funny how you could throw papers through people's windows, and, like, dogs would attack you and you'd have to throw papers at them to appease them, and just the amount of destruction and property damage you can do as a child riding a bike is unmatched. I freaking love this game. The only complaint I have about it is that it's not long enough, genuinely. I would play 3 times as much of this game if there was more to it. Really wish there was more Paperboy out there. Here's kind of a bland one. Kobe Bryant's NBA Courtside. This is just a pretty solid basketball game. I really liked Courtside 2, which I never got, but NBA Courtside is just a good game. It's probably not worth anything because the rosters are wildly out of date at this point. Like, I think this was from '99 or something like that. But if you're looking for a basketball game you want to give a try that isn't like 2K or NBA Live, like, I don't know, I guess play this and play with teams from the 90s. You know what, we're just going to get the other one out of the way, the other bland one out of the way too. This is International Superstar Soccer. It is, again, just a fine soccer game. The most fun you can have is just trying to get red cards for all of your teams by, like, just kicking all of your opponents and basically tripping them and doing slide kicks and just knocking them out. It's a solid soccer game. Not much else you can say about it. Wave Race 64 was a game that I had when I was a kid. My grandma ended up getting an N64 at her house, and this was one of the games that I think either came with it or she got it with it, something like that. I didn't play much of it. I honestly didn't like Wave Race too much. I know why people like it. It's just not a game for me. When I was a kid, I found it really hard to control. I found it really hard to just go in a straight line, so maybe that's why. I'd probably just need to give it another chance. But the water was beautiful in it. Like, it was a very cool game when it came out. It just wasn't for me. I'll keep this one quick because I have a video on Paper Mario already. But Paper Mario, it's fantastic. You should play it, and watch my video at the link right there. Right there. Whew. Again, what is there to say about GoldenEye 007 that hasn't already been said? Pretty much nothing, except I think this game has aged like milk. It's funny, Pierce Brosnan's face is showing up on the face recognition on my camera. You can't see that, but that's making me laugh pretty hard. But I think this game's aged pretty poorly because of the single stick. That's fine if you like it, whatever. I just can't play this game anymore. It's tough. It's tough to go back to. Well, we just did a game that has aged poorly. Here's a game that was terrible to begin with. WCW Nitro is a god-awful piece of garbage. I got this game, this is the second copy I got from it. When I was a kid, I bought one copy from Game Trader, that place I mentioned earlier. This game is so bad, I thought it was broken. So we took it back and got a different copy of it, which is this one. And when I put it in, I was just like, oh, that taught me a valuable lesson that games can be bad. Just like this. This is a bad game. Here's a good wrestling game. WCW vs. NWO Revenge is... oh, it's so good. It is basically the WCW version of No Mercy. I love this game. My sister even loves this game. We used to do battle royales just for hours and hours and hours. We had so much fun just making all of the different custom characters. There's a huge create a character mode, which is amazing. And I'm very sad for the day this battery runs out and we lose everything. It's gonna happen soon, unfortunately, but I gotta figure out a way to replace the save battery. So here's a game I have 2 copies of. Destruction Derby 64. This game is one of the more underrated games of the system. I really like it. It's basically an arcade racer with destruction derby elements, so you can take out other cars and try to get them to crash before you finish. A lot of it has to do with being the last car surviving, which is great. And there's straight up destruction arenas where you can basically just go in and it's just a free-for-all where cars are just hitting each other like head on. There's bomb tag, which basically is just hot potato where you have to pass off the bomb before it explodes. It is very good. I can't imagine this game is worth anything these days, but this game is great if you want an arcade racer that's just chill and fun. There's a ton of unlockable places to unlock, a lot of tracks to unlock, and a lot of cars to unlock, so definitely check it out if you can. Oh, 1080 snowboarding. Part of the whole extreme sports phase I went through, where I didn't actually do any extreme sports, but I was really into the extreme sports that I couldn't do. 1080 is great. It's a great snowboarding game. It's just good. I don't even know how to say anything about it. Like, so many people love 1080 snowboarding. You can get other characters. You can basically use a Yeti as a snowboarder. It's awesome. How we've waited this long to talk about this one, Super Mario 64. This is the game that made me get a Nintendo 64 when I was a kid. I had a friend who was obsessed with me about this game and the wing cap and all the different levels. I mean, it's Mario 64, it's iconic. It is what created the 3D platforming genre and did it right. Like, this game is fantastic. It has aged pretty bleh. There's a lot of issues with it now. With like collision detection and just a variety of things that, of course, just don't stand up well over time because we're spoiled and have good things in 2020. But no, it's Mario 64. Just play it. Hot Wheels Turbo Racing. This is another, just one of the many racing games I have on the system. I have always really liked this game. I don't think it's as good as I once thought it was, but like, if you go back and play it, there's still a lot of fun to be had because the stunts in the jumps are still a massive part of this game. This was kind of like the follow-up to Stunt Track Driver, or at least was the spiritual successor to it if you ever played that on PC or Game Boy. Lots of flips, lots of jumps, tons of cars to collect if you're a Hot Wheels fan like I was when I was a kid. Just, if you haven't played it, you really should if you're a fan of Hot Wheels, because it's still pretty okay. Banjo Kazooie and Banjo Tooie. I am ashamed to say that I got these games very late. I got them when I was in college. I got them at GameStop, and I just haven't gotten around to playing them. I got about halfway through Banjo Kazooie, and just stuff came up. It's college, you know how it is. And so because of that, I couldn't really say much about it, so we're just gonna move on. But also, what else is there to say about Banjo Kazooie that hasn't already been said 1,000 times? Mario Tennis. I don't know if I love tennis because of Mario Tennis, but I definitely love Mario Tennis because I love tennis. I got this game when it came out. It's so much fun. It's probably pretty simple compared to some of the later entries in the Mario Tennis series. But, I mean, it's one of the better ones in the Mario Tennis series. Like, I know the series has kind of gone through ups and downs, but this one is still pretty solid. I haven't played it in a really long time, so I can't really review it, but if you like Mario Tennis, you probably are going to like this game. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. Starfox 64 was one of my favorite games as a kid. Like, hands down. It was just so cool flying the R-Wing, finding all the secret paths to unlock the different branching stages, and there's just so much to love about this game. Highly recommend picking it up. It's probably the best in the series, by far. Dr. Mario 64 is one of those games I haven't played as much as the others. I just don't love the way it... I don't love Dr. Mario. Like, I like it, I'll play it with friends when we're playing some puzzle games together, but I always preferred Tetris and Puyo Puyo over Dr. Mario. But if you like Dr. Mario, you'll probably like this game. Milos Astro Lanes. I rented this game a lot as a kid. I definitely thought that it was better than it was, because I actually bought this game when I was in college. I was right about to move home from college, and unfortunately, I realized this game is not very good. Xtreme G, another racing game. I always really liked Xtreme G. I always really liked the style of it. It probably looks like hot garbage today, but if you want a futuristic racer that isn't Wipeout, and probably not as good as Wipeout, Xtreme G will fill that void. Fox Sports College Hoops 1999. I don't know when I got this. I really don't. I don't even remember playing this very much. I think I got it solely so I could play as LSU, and then when I was terrible at it, I kind of put it down. I really don't remember ever getting this. I just know I've always had it. Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, the two mandatory games to have in your collection. I'm not going to say very much about Ocarina of Time because it would basically destroy my credibility and make everyone hate me, so we're just not going to talk about it. I really like Majora's Mask. Majora's Mask is really good. I always really liked the time cycle, which is very polarizing. I really liked how creative it was and trying to get you to do multiple things and trying to get faster each time you go through the cycle. It's cool. It's one of the most interesting series, one of the most interesting games in the series. I prefer this to Ocarina of Time any day of the week. So definitely give it a try if you haven't already, although I can't imagine anybody out there has just never heard of this game or even played it a little bit. Excitebike 64 is just a ton of fun. The motorcycle racing is great. There's stunt modes, there's unlockables, like you can play soccer in the original Excitebike. Lots of love went into this game. I think it's great. I will die on this hill. Diddy Kong Racing is a better game than Mario Kart 64. The single player is better, there's more tracks, there's 3 different kinds of vehicles to drive, the weapons are cool. This game is fantastic. I'm very sad we've only ever gotten one. I would imagine it's because Mario Kart was more popular, but Diddy Kong Racing is just amazing. It got a remaster on the DS, but even this one is still great. It still holds up really well. Madden 99, basically unplayable. Another racing game, Lego Racers. I played this a lot as a kid with my friends. For some reason, we never figured out how to delete save files off of my memory card, so we ended up having to play the entire game in one sitting and then be really sad when we turned the system off. It's a good game, but it's a flawed game. Some of the power-ups are a little bit overpowered. Some of them are a net negative to you if you use them in the wrong places. It's fine. I would check it out if you can find one for a good price or just emulate it or something, but it's alright. I played a lot of it as a kid, but it's okay. One of the gems of my collection is Snowboard Kids 2. I really regret not getting the first game when it was a little bit more easy to find. Snowboard Kids 2 is awesome. It's basically like a downhill jam version of Mario Kart or something like that, because it's a race to the bottom and then you get on a ski lift and come right back up to the top, and you're trying to take out other people and do tricks. It's a blast. They had a Snowboard Kids, I think, re-release on the DS. I don't know if it was like a remaster or a just reboot or anything like that, but the first 2 games on N64 were great. Great. Highly recommend them. Pokemon Snap, another game I never thought we'd get a sequel to, especially in 2020. I admittedly was not a big fan of Pokemon Snap because I think the cartridge I got had pretty much been completed by the time I got it, so I didn't have much fun just redoing all the things. And I mean, when you're a kid, you don't know you can just delete saves, but yeah, I need to give this one a fair chance, but I know a lot of people who got it brand new and loved it, so... And I'm very happy that people who really wanted a Pokemon Snap remaster, like, sequel, not a remaster, are getting one, because I think it's really cool that Nintendo has finally acknowledged the ply for another one. WCW vs. NWO World Tour. I played this one a lot. NWO, the Revenge one, WCW NWO Revenge, is better than this, but the gameplay in this one is a lot more, like, competitive, I guess you could say. Like, it's very much more technical wrestling focused as opposed to, like, the cartooniness of wrestling at the time, like Revenge was. This one is great, though. It was a really good start to the people who made it. THQ and Aki made these. They did a great job with their wrestling engines. These were so much better than the Nitros and the Thunders, and like those games were terrible, but the Aki ones are great. A very damaged Wheel of Fortune. We got this because my grandma was a very big fan of Wheel of Fortune. She would record every episode. Obviously, this was the cheapest thing we could find. I don't even... Like, this cartridge has been like this since we got it, and I don't even know how it got this bad to begin with, because this is smooth. Like, there's no residue whatsoever on this. Speaking of another bad wrestling game, WWF Attitude, very bad. So the biggest problem with these was, instead of just having arcadey like single button inputs and directions similar to how they are today, this game had combo driven wrestling, but I swear no matter how hard you try, the inputs are only going to work maybe 25% of the time. So it's an incredibly frustrating and boring experience because what everything just comes down to is just striking, just over and over until your opponent falls down and you can pin them. Skip this and skip all of the non-Aki, wrestling games. Kirby and the Crystal Shards. This one is kind of a polarizing entry in the series. I really liked it as a kid. I thought it was really dark and eerie because everyone just gets possessed by this basically like dark matter being, and you have to get all the crystal shards to save them. It's pretty good in my opinion. I really like that you could combine different powers to make new things. It added a lot of replay value just to figure out what all the different combinations were. But yeah, it's one of the few Kirby games on the N64. It could be the only one, but I'm blanking, so don't take me on that. It's a pretty good game. If you can find a copy, definitely go for it. I really liked it. I really like it now. I think the last time I played it was on the Wii Virtual Console, so you can probably find it on other places. But yeah, good game. If you've watched my channel long enough, you know about my love for the Rush series. These games are a blast to play because they were arcade ports They were arcade games first, but then they were ported / upgraded onto the home console. New tracks, new cars, new tons of everything. This series basically is just a blast. Any of these games you play outside of San Francisco Rush is probably going to be just as fun as it was back in the day. The driving in Rush 1 is a little bit too stiff, but in these two, they're still pretty good. You'll find a lot of fun in these if you can find them, and they're really not even that expensive. I think Rush 2 is like $9 or something like that, and I got Rush 2049 from GameStop, unfortunately, for like $20. Also, last thing I'll say is, I don't know if you can see it, but it looks like GameStop did a Franken Cart kind of thing where they took the yellowed front and then put the different back on it. See how different in color that is? That's weird. I don't know. I've never seen anything like this where the front of a game will be yellowed and the back won't. Powerpuff Girls Chemical Extraction. We got this because we were big fans of Powerpuff Girls as a kid. Like a lot of people were. I don't really think I played this much. This was mainly for my sister. But it was basically like Tom and Jerry Fist of Fury, but worse, if that makes any sense. I don't have any memory of playing this, quite honestly. It's just stayed in my collection because what's she gonna do with a single game in no N64, right? Got a Game Shark. It works sometimes. Mickey Speedway USA, Mario Kart knockoff, but it's actually kind of solid. The racing is pretty good in it, so don't judge a book by its license. And not much you can say about it. I would still play Diddy Kong Racing or Mario Kart 64 over it, but if you were like desperate for a racing game, which, come on, who is? That would be the case where you'd play this. It's genuinely alright. It's been a long time since I played it, so I'm kind of like blanking on everything, but I remember having a pretty good track variety. I think there were power-ups, but yeah, it's alright. Revolt is very good. It's an RC car racing game, so everything is very tight and zippy, and you're basically driving through supermarkets and museums, and it's just really cool. It's a fun take on the racing series. Not the racing series, the racing genre. And I really liked this a lot. This was one of my first few games when I was a kid, and I played the heck out of it. And I think it actually came to PC a few years ago, or at least some kind of port did, because I know NerdCube covered it. And basically, it had more tracks, it had more stuff to do. So if you want this game and like you don't want to buy the cartridge for it, it's still kind of lively online. So definitely check that out if you're into it. I highly recommend this one. This one is a blast. Bomberman 64, I don't have much of a memory playing this. I love Bomberman, and I would imagine this is where that started. But I think there are better Bombermans out there, especially the second game to this one, which is very rare at this point. But essentially, it's got... it's Bomberman, you know what it is, but it's... how do I say it? It's just a little bit underwhelming. As opposed to the other ones being very tight and quick, this one is a little bit trying to find its legs on 3D consoles. Super Smash Bros. What is there to say about this besides this is the game where the entire craze started? I put a lot of time alone into Smash on 64, trying to defeat Master Hand and unlock all the characters. I never did. I never ever got all of the characters. I think the only character I got was Ness, if I'm not mistaken. because I didn't have any way of knowing what would unlock characters, so I just was thankful for what I had. But it's a little bit embarrassing to say that I didn't get any of the characters like Luigi or Jigglypuff, so we'll just move on swiftly. Beetle Adventure Racing. Now, I'm not going to say too much about this because I already have a video on it. If you want to look at it, it'll be right there. But this game is so strangely good that I had to talk about it on my channel. Like, there's no reason it should be this good. It's so cartoony and weird and strangely dark that like you just gotta play it for yourself and see. Blast Core. This was another example of when I got a cartridge that was completed when I bought it, so I didn't love it as much at first. But in more recent years, I went back and got another cartridge of it. This isn't my original one. Don't really remember what happened to the first one. I think I just traded it in. But I really like Blast Core now because it's just fun to run around and destroy stuff, and the driving is kind of fun in it. It's not like Grand Theft Auto where the driving is like really a focus, but it's an arcadey like top-down kind of destruction game where you're just destroying everything you can. But highly recommend this one. This is on the Rare Replay on Xbox One, so if you have an Xbox One, definitely check it out. I wish that would come to other consoles. Why is Rare Replay not on the Switch? So frustrating, but I guess they gotta sell their 3 consoles somehow. Last but not least, and I'm a little bit nervous because I can't find the other cartridge, but Mario Party 2. I have Mario Party 1 somewhere. I don't know where that went. Everything should be in this bin, but yeah, Mario Party 2 is like the peak of Mario Party for me. I've never found one I liked more. For a while, I thought it was going to be Super Mario Party on the Switch, but that game is dead in the water. I was expecting a lot more stuff to come out for it, and it never did. So, like, once again, Mario Party 2, the crown cannot be taken. I'm sure it will one day, but that day is pretty far off, considering I doubt we'll get another Super Mario Party on the Switch. But yeah. What can you say about Mario Party 2 that, again, has not already been said yet? It's great, the mini-games are great, the boards are great, it's just tons of fun to play with friends. It's a tradition that every time we get together and play Mario Party, there is no exception, you have to play 50-turn Mario Party and despise each other by the end of the evening. That's what Mario Party is all about. But that's my collection of N64 games. That was a much longer video than I was expecting. I didn't really know what to expect, considering I have so many of them that I've just amassed over the years. I don't really know if this video is interesting or not. You'll have to let me know in the comments down below. Somebody asked me if I would do other systems that I collect for after doing this one, but I guess it really depends on the demand. I don't want to bore people. And the N64 is by far the most collected for console that I have, and it wasn't intentional, I just have them over the years, because most of the games aren't worth anything, and the ones that are, I'm definitely not getting rid of. I'm also probably not seeking out many N64 games at this point, because of how expensive they are for the ones I don't already have. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. This is kind of a weird week, but I'm glad I got something out. If you liked the video, be sure to like it. Tell me again how much you liked this or didn't like this in the comments down below if you found it interesting. And lastly, if you want more content that is nothing like this, please hit the subscribe button. Have a good day, and I'll see you next time.